Hello everyone and welcome to Sharing Vietnam every day at 8:30 p.m. on NetViet VTC 10. The topic of Sharing Vietnam today will focus on Eco2 cities. What is it and what does it implement in the world? We will have the experts from World Bank to share with us this topic. So let's say hello to them. Hello and thank you so much for taking your time and joining our talk show today.
Hello.
Thank you very much for having us.
The first question we'd love to raise for Mr. Aris. So, as far as I know, you are the co-author of a new publication released by the World Bank. The title is Eco2 City. So, can you share with us more about this?
Yeah. I think what's been happening with the process of urbanization since the 18th, 19th, and 20th century with industrialization has been very positive. It's brought a lot of benefits and a lot of luxuries to populations across the world. But at the same time, there have been a lot of costs to this process of industrialization and urbanization, which have largely been invisible because how the discipline of economics views the process of development. It's an incomplete view. To give you an example, recently ecologists in Canada come up with this method of ecological footprint analysis, and they have found that if countries in the developing world were to urbanize and industrialize like countries in the West have, we would require a resource base as large as 4 planet Earths to sustain this growth. We only have one. And so clearly this is not sustainable. So what Eco2 Cities as a program strives to do is to put forward a new paradigm on how to approach urbanization. And its paradigm basically looks at economies as they exist within the context of ecological systems and tries to find a harmony between ecological approach and an economic process that is embedded within a larger ecological consideration. So that is what it is. And I think that there are many new ways of doing this, but ultimately the cities of developing countries is going to be the stage on which the future of a lot of sustainability issues are going to unfold. So we're hoping to help in some small way with this.
So moving to Mr. Victor, so what are cities doing around the world to become the Eco2 cities?
Well, I think that they are transforming themselves, and I'll give you 3 examples. I think that the first are small steps, because the first moment is a decision to transform, to do things differently. And cities around the world are taking on projects to recycle solid waste, to be energy efficient, to show that they are taking an initiative with small steps. But then there are the larger issues that are fundamental to the transformation. And 2 of them are, the first one is institutions. The institutions within the cities that can understand this Eco2 principle, this idea that you're bringing all issues of economics and ecology together. So you have integrated planning, not partial planning. And these institutions, these planning institutions that are modern and efficient, we have examples throughout the world. Curitiba in Brazil is one of them, and now many others around the world. So institutions are very important. And the second issue is land. Land is fundamental to the transformation of ecological and economic sustainability. And ensuring that the cities understand their land assets, that land markets work and function appropriately, and that land use planning is done in a way that builds cities that are efficient and economical. So those are the 3 sort of examples that I would give you.
So thank you so much, both of you, for the very first sharing today. And before moving deeper into the story with the 2 experts from World Bank, we would love to share with you some information about Eco Cities development.
In the context of rapid urbanization, cities around the world have to face the challenge of pursuing their socio-economic development goal while also ensuring environmental sustainability and quality of life for their citizens. In a quickly changing world, the city that managed to bring together economic and ecological sustainability will ultimately be safer, healthier, more innovative, and also provide a much better quality of life. Vietnam is one of the first countries to begin with the World Bank News Eco2 City program on this issue. The Eco2 City program supports cities and metropolitan regions in planning, managing, and investing in sustainable urban systems that are integrated, multifunctional, and beneficial in the long term. In Vietnam, rapidly growing cities driven by a vibrant economy are transforming the urban landscape. This provides excellent opportunities for Vietnam to ensure that the changes lead to real and lasting improvement in quality of life and to urban development that is both inclusive and sustainable.
Hello everyone, and you are watching Showing Vietnam. There is a point of view that the concept to implementation the Eco2 city in Vietnam or some other country in the world may be difficult and take a long time. What do you think about this?
Oh, that's an excellent question, because that's a common perception. But in fact, the biggest cost is not to plan appropriately. That is when it becomes very, very expensive to fix the mistakes of the past. And we see that throughout the world. Cities that have made the wrong decisions lock in infrastructure, the way the city is shaped, the way the transit arteries are laid out, and it is very, very costly to fix. So planning is money well spent, and it has to be done in a technical way and an informed way, but we believe that it doesn't take long, and the alternative is even more expensive.
What about you?
No, I completely agree with my colleague Victor. You know, I think the cheapest investment you can make in any city is in planning correctly. And it will pay recurring dividends through the lifetime of that city. If you think about the cost of infrastructure that is built, the fixed cost, the capital cost, and you think of the recurring costs to individuals and to the government and to firms in a city, if you build it wrong, those costs will keep recurring over the lifetime of the city. So if you spend your resources up front getting institutions to have the right capacity and technical aptitude to do the planning correctly from the beginning, I think you're making probably one of the best investments you can make in a city. And we have examples in the real world of this. For example, Curitiba in Brazil did precisely this. Curitiba was not by any stretch of imagination a rich city when it started to do its planning. But it made its investment, it made its choice, and today it's probably one of the best planned cities in the world, and it has the institutional wherewithal to continue doing that. So I completely agree with my colleague.
Not only that, but I think it's important to point out that Curitiba is a very efficient city as far as resources. So in fact, it was not costly at all to do things right. Some cities invest a lot to do things right, but in the countries with developing economies, cities have to be imaginative. And in Curitiba, they've done that. Yeah. At a low cost, they were able to do the right thing.
So what about the special case of Vietnam?
Well, I think Vietnam has an opportunity to do the right thing even better, because there are lessons from developing countries and developing economies, and the lessons are both positive and negative. And it would be very, very wise of Vietnam to learn the lessons and ensure that the positives are replicated and the negatives are not undertaken.
The Eco2 City program supports cities to develop one system approach. Status, policy, and budgets will need to work together across different spatial-scale administrative jurisdiction, and at the same time natural and man-made systems should function in harmony with each other so that the city functions effectively as one system. The program will also support city to broaden the scope and extend the time frame within which policy, plans, and investment options are assessed for costs, benefits, and risks. To achieve this, cities will need to invest in developing strong technical capacity. They will need to approach urban planning and managing in a creative new way that builds on their unique historic and cultural roots. They will also need to ensure that decision-making is inclusive and made free from short-term political agendas. Hopefully, in the near future, Vietnam can be responsible for some of the very first Eco2 cities, where every morning we are up with a fresh and calm feeling to start a working day full of inspiration.
The citizen of the city that decide to follow Eco2 city are the people who live inside and will live in that city for a long time. So what are the role of the community, of the citizen of those cities when we decide to have this model of development?
I think that the Eco2 cities model is very much centered around the people. And on a broader basis, the World Bank's policies and practices make it imperative to have participation as a key aspect of the design, the implementation, and the evaluation of all development initiatives. Having said that, it is a difficult process, and it is important to have a decision to begin the process of participation and to start. Sometimes you begin with small steps. It depends on the country. And you, as you learn, as the community learns, as the institutions learn, they can do deeper, more engaging participatory processes. For example, in Brazil, there is a system of a participatory budget where the budget of the city is discussed with the citizens. The citizens know exactly how much the local government has to spend on everything, all expenses, salaries and construction of buildings, maintenance. And a very small portion of it is actually designed, given to the communities, and then they decide what to do. So they participate actively in the decision making, and they're aware of the larger perspective. We know that here in Vietnam, you also have participatory processes. The community upgrading plans that are part of the World Bank finance projects are a good example of that. Similar in each of our countries, and we're very proud of those that aspect of the project implementation.
So what about your opinion?
Yeah, I think involving communities is essential, because what that does is it creates a sense of ownership and entitlement in a place, and a sense of collective responsibility to making that place better. And there's a lot of wisdom in communities, and if we disregard this, I'll give you an example from New York City. There was a very famous master planner in New York. His name was Robert Moses, and he was preparing all of these master plans that some people have been very critical of, destroying the heart of cities. And a community, and they proposed an alternative plan. They said, okay, this is your plan. We as the community are going to come up with a different approach. Leave Washington Square Park where it is. And today when you go to New York, in fact, it's probably one of the most exciting places to be. There are all kinds of people from all over the world exchanging ideas in this park. And this park has become a symbol for the people's sense of pride and ownership in that city. That is a much more powerful investment in a place that came through communities than any infrastructure you can build. So there's this sort of soft art of getting people to really care about their city and belong to the city. And I think you can only get that if communities are involved in the development process.
Once again, thank you all so much for taking your time and joining our talk show today. And we hope that we will welcome back both of you in sharing Vietnam to share more about Eco2 City and about the successful example in the world. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for your watching today. And if you have any question or recommendation for us, please don't hesitate to send us an email at sharingvietnam@gmail.com. Thank you so much and see you next time.
Xin cảm ơn biên tập viên Minh Ngân và hai vị khách mời. Thưa quý vị và các bạn, trong phần cuối của chương trình Open Việt Nam ngày hôm nay, chúng ta sẽ cùng gặp lại biên tập viên Vương Tân để đến với câu chuyện hội nhập và phát triển bền vững.
Cảm ơn biên tập viên Hồng Giang. Kính thưa quý vị, trong những năm gần đây, việc canh tác nông nghiệp sạch thông qua chú trọng đến sử dụng phân hữu cơ, hạn chế hóa chất bảo vệ thực vật đang là vấn đề rất được quan tâm, góp phần cải thiện chất lượng nông sản, độ phì nhiêu của đất và đảm bảo được nhu cầu phát triển bền vững của ngành nông nghiệp. Thông tin chi tiết sẽ có trong phóng sự tiếp theo của chương trình.